Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Tabbins. I'm the MPP for Toronto Danforth. I'm the Ontario NDP Energy and Climate Change Critic. I'm joined this morning by Mark Calzavera, who's the Ontario organizer for the Council of Canadians. Today, I'm reintroducing my bill to ban hydraulic fracturing for oil and gas in Ontario. We're running out of time to protect our kids, our grandchildren, from some of the worst effects of climate change. Why leave the door open to fracking, which would only add fuel to the fire, when we can send a clear message that fracking has no place in Ontario? The generations that come after us deserve clean air, clean water. But that won't happen if Doug Ford continues down the path that he's chosen. Instead of fighting climate change by making big polluters pay, Doug Ford is making things so much worse by paying money to big polluters. What's more, he's axing, cutting programs like tree planting and flood protection, things that absolutely have to be done if we're to protect people in this province. Before the Conservatives, it was the Liberals who let Ontarians down. When this bill came forward in 2015, it was passed at second reading. They could have carried it forward and put it in place to give Ontarians greater climate protection. The flooding that is already causing widespread damage in Ontario and in Quebec makes clear that we're already paying the price for climate change. We must take action to prevent the problem from getting worse. Proactively banning fracking in Ontario now is a step forward for climate protection. And with that, I'll turn to Mark Calzavera for his comments. Mark?
Thank you, Peter. My name is Mark Calzavera. I'm the regional organizer for the Council of Canadians. Very pleased to be here today. It was in 2015. The Council of Canadians also supported Peter Tabbins' private member's bill to ban fracking in Ontario. And we're here again today because things have changed. The technology behind fracking has improved to the point that it makes it more financially viable, and it allows them to extract more gas than they were doing just a few years ago. And that's very problematic when Ontario has some resources, some shale resources that contain fossil fuels, and exploiting those fossil fuels or finding them and taking them out would be a tremendously damaging thing to do for the targets that we have in Ontario to meet our global warming gas emission reduction targets. Also, since 2015, the IPCC has come out and said we have 11 years to cut our emissions by 50%. So there's absolutely no way that we can start any new fossil fuel exploitation, especially in a place like Ontario where we have very little to begin with. If we can't stop fossil fuel exploitation here in Ontario, then we're not going to be able to stop it anywhere else. So it's really an important bill. It's a signal to future generations. It's a signal to the rest of our society today to say we take this seriously, and there can be no more exploration for further resources of fossil fuels. We can't burn all the fossil fuels we have, and we know where they are now. If we did that, there'd be no chance on climate change. So it really is important to take those steps to say there's no more time to be messing around with exploring for more fossil fuels or exploiting new technologies to harvest those fossil fuels that we have here in Ontario. It would be irrational and reckless to continue, and at this point, banning fracking in Ontario would be a very strong signal to the rest of the country and to future generations that we care about the environment primarily, and we're going to do something to stop climate change.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good morning. Avez-vous des questions?
Donc, c'est un projet de loi, c'est un projet de loi privé qui avait été déjà présenté il y a quelques années. Pourquoi le représenter aujourd'hui?
Comme vous savez, il y a des changements avec la technologie pour le gaz de schiste, et à ce moment-ci, c'est possible d'augmenter la production de gaz de schiste. C'est nécessaire ici, en Ontario, à dire arrête à une augmentation de cette production.
Est-ce que vous pensez que le gouvernement va être ouvert que les progressistes conservateurs vont être ouverts à accepter cette fois-ci ce projet de loi?
Je pense que ce sera difficile avec ce gouvernement-ci, mais c'est nécessaire d'avoir un combat contre le changement climatique. Et nous savons que tout le changement, c'est difficile. Dans ce cas, c'est vrai, mais c'est nécessaire en même temps d'engager avec la question du changement climatique et de continuer le combat contre les changements climatiques.
Pouvez-vous nous dire c'est quoi l'impact qu'a, je ne sais pas s'il y a des études qui ont été faites en Ontario spécifiquement, mais l'impact environnemental qu'a la fracturisation?
Désolé, c'est nécessaire de répéter, s'il vous plaît?
Pouvez-vous nous expliquer dans le fond c'est quoi l'impact, l'empreinte écologique de cette pratique-là? Et dans le fond, j'imagine la raison d'être de votre projet de loi.
C'est clair maintenant que le méthane le produit de pétrole et de gaz, c'est très important pour le changement climatique. Et dans ce secteur, la production de fracking, c'est plus élevé que les autres technologies. Et c'est nécessaire à dire que nous devons arrêter l'introduction d'une technologie comme ça en Ontario, de prévenir une augmentation des gaz à effet de serre dans notre atmosphère. Parlez-vous français?
Not as well as
Well, I know that there seems to be an increased urgency to tackle climate change and fracking. I mean, there's been reports on either side that has a low environmental footprint, that it has a high environmental footprint. Why are we bringing this now to the legislature?
Well, I think the studies that indicate that it's got a high environmental footprint are the ones that are the independent studies, the ones that have the most weight behind them. We know that methane, which is natural gas, essentially, when it escapes, it has 86 times the power of carbon dioxide as far as global warming goes over a short period of time. And there's just no way that they can capture all the methane that they produce. We know that the most recent studies have shown that they're actually releasing far more methane than they anticipated. And it's an industry that is so widespread. There's so many points of emission. It's not like there's one well and you're sucking all the oil out of a huge reservoir. There's hundreds and hundreds of individual wells, and the government of Ontario has never shown much interest or ability to regulate that sort of situation around other environmental issues. So to have them in charge of fracking in Ontario would be a nightmare as far as containing those emissions, and the groundwater implication is very strong as well. The fracking in other jurisdictions has caused groundwater to be polluted, and when it's polluted by fracking, it's polluted forever. It's gone forever. And groundwater resources in Ontario are incredibly important, especially because of climate change. Our access to our normal water resources is definitely going to change. So we have to protect what we have more than ever.
I know that contamination is a huge issue. Are there other jurisdictions that have taken action that Ontario could sort of follow the lead?
Well, there's many different jurisdictions that are dealing with fracking. The best solution for Ontario is to say no fracking. It's just not worth, for what little we would get from it as a province, and what little revenue the province would get, and the few jobs that might be created. It's simply not an acceptable practice because climate change is, it demands that we get away from fossil fuels, not continue to exploit and find new ones. Regardless of the financial benefit, we have to change the way we work.
Could I just add?
Yeah.
L'État de New York, la province de Québec, la province Nouvelle-Écosse ont dit arrête à fracking. C'est clair à ce moment-ci. Ce n'est pas seulement une question de l'Ontario, mais c'est une question des États et provinces qui ont l'expérience avec fracking et les dommages qui viennent de cette technologie. Merci. Thank you very much. And we're done for the day. Thank you, Mark.